It's a really delicious regional cuisine, a cuisine with real character and fire and spice and flavors that pair well with your wines. Can you tell us some of the really typical dishes that when you've been traveling and you come home, what do you want to eat and what are the wines that pair best with them? Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today I'm delighted to continue a special sub-series that highlights the winners of the prestigious 5-star wines and Wines Without Walls competition that took place in April, just prior to Vinitaly 2024. Those wines that scored more than 90 points were awarded certificates and have been included in the 5-star Wines and Wines Without Walls 2025 book, where the very best wines in each category were singled out for special awards. Today we traveled to Calabria, to the deep south, the inset of the Italian boot, overlooking the beautiful Ionian Sea, to a wine zone that is among the most ancient in Italy, the most ancient perhaps in the world, where wines have been made for over 2,500 years. My guest today is Vito Senatore of his family winery Senatore Vini. In the 5-star wines competition, for which I was one of the judges this year, Senatore Vini's Cirò DOP Rosato Vino Biologico Puntalice 2023 won the award for the best organic rosé wine. I recall tasting many outstanding organic Rosato wines in the competition. To be judged as the best is a great achievement. Many congratulations, Vito, to you and your family, and many thanks for being my guest. Is it a beautiful day in Cirò?
Thank you, Marc. Thanks for the invitation. For me, it's really a pleasure. Yes, today it's a beautiful day, and I'm excited to explain you our history and our wine.
Great. Well, first of all, Vito, I'm going to invite you to take us to Cirò Marina, to Cirò itself. Take us to Calabria, where you are, because our listeners are located all around the world, and I'd really like them to gain an impression of this special historic place.
Yes, Cirò is a really ancient place. I think that we produce wine from over than 2,000 of years here. And our Gaioppo, the red grape, is very famous because the legend say us that was the wine given to the Olympionic during the Bagna Grecia Olympiadi. I think that our winery, our cellar, our estate is a beautiful structure nestled among the vineyards, and is from 1 kilometer away from the sea, and as the crow flies, and about 1.5 kilometers from the mountain. So we are in the middle in a very versatile territory. And in our case, the wine cellar, the structure face the Ionian Sea, looking at the famous Puntalice lighthouse, from which our rosé takes its name.
Okay, that's a good image, a visual image. Puntalice, which had, I think, the site of a Greek temple, is that right, on Puntalice?
Yes, it is a very ancient lighthouse.
A lighthouse, okay.
Yes, you can consider that it's over 3,000 years old.
Okay.
And in the past, they had not Google Maps, so yes. They managed by this nautical point, the lighthouse. And the history tells us that the Greeks landed from Puntalice lighthouse when they conquered all the southern Italy, which was then called the Bagna Grecia.
That's very important. Yeah. And I just want to emphasize the point you made that the wines, the Cirò wines, have this long fame and antecedents of being the wines that were given to the victors of the ancient Olympic Games at Olympia.
Exactly. It's really but this history, this culture can be touched with our hands, thanks to the really most archaeological finds that are present in the area. So our territory is really great from this point. But it's only a territory that is not only famous for history and culture. as we have a wonderful sea that has won the blue flag for over 20 years. That it's a recognition for the quality of the water and the related services. So let's say that it's also an excellent place to spend your holidays.
Okay, that's a very good point as well. Now, we're saying that Cirò, the wines of modern Cirò, have this history going back 2,500 years. But I would say, and maybe you would agree, that Cirò is not yet so well known internationally anyway, and it deserves to be better known. But your family have been pioneers. Your family have been working in wine for, is it 4 generations now?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the history of Senatore Vini, of your family members, the different generations, and how the business is being conducted today.
Yes, me and my cousins, we represent the fourth generation of our family. But the history of the family starts in the beginning of the 19th century with the great father Giuseppe Sculco that built the first wine cellar in an area of Cirò. And then the tradition followed with my great father Antonio that. Had 4 male sons, but one time was really hard to send them to university. So true, he managed to send to university, and true, he managed to send them to become farmers. So we have 2 medical doctors and 2 farmers that build the image of the unicorn, our brand, our building built in 2005. And we choose this mythological image, this brand, because it talk about uniqueness, rarity, beauty. So we want to explain that also in Calabria from different years, and now we can produce high quality wines.
Okay, so the work you're doing now is really based on the work that the generations before have carried out. Now, the wine that won this important award, the best organic rosé, of course, indicates that Senatore Vini produce wines organically,
Yes.
vini biologici. Why is this important, and what are some of the important aspects of production? When did you begin producing organic wines? Because they've become much more, consumers, I think, are much more aware. We're looking for wines that are organic. But your family were real pioneers, weren't they?
Yes, because my father especially is a medical doctor. No, for him was really easy, no, to ask us to produce healthy wine and not only good wine. So for a medical doctor is a really natural things, to produce wines that not create a headache or stomachache, so with a low quantity of sulfites and with a biological and organic production of the grapes. So it's a really natural things for us to respect the environment and the health of the customers.
Okay, and is it the climatic conditions where you are? Does it lend itself to this being quite far south with the winds coming in off the sea to help ventilate the vines? Is that one reason why you're able to successfully practice organic viticulture?
Yes, but in the last years I don't cover that. It's really hard to produce organic wines. Also because the climate is very particular. No, there are no rains, or if rain too much in a short period. So it's really not easy to produce organic wines. And I say always that if you find a good organic wine, probably the producer make 10 times the efforts, than in a classic wine. So the organic wines is really hard to produce actually, but the satisfaction is really much, to to produce an special wine organic like our Puntalice.
Okay, that's a very important point, especially as you say, Vito, with the challenges that climate change are bringing, the extremes in weather, not
Yeah.
just the heat, but the extremes. When rain falls, it just are like rain bombs, and that's not good for the vine. So I know that producers all across Italy have had to face these challenges, and producing wines organically makes it even more challenging. Perhaps so if the vines are more resilient because they're stronger for being cultivated organically.
The point is probably make a prevention, no, of the issue in the vineyards, because we fight a war without weapon. No, we can use only organic products like
Copper sulfite.
okay. The objective is to prevent and to avoid the problems in the vineyards, and this is the most important point, because after taking the problem, is really hard to fight against them. For example, last years, no, in the south of Italy, there was the problem of peronospora that cut more than 50% of the production.
Yes, that's been a real problem. Downy mildew, which this fungal disease that when it gets in a vineyard can just destroy the production. Were you able to combat that, or were you affected badly?
Last year we affected a lot of damage from the peronospora, but like you see with our Puntalice and the awards that we won to Win Italy 5-star wines, the few bottles that we produced the last years were very good. So it's okay.
Okay, so a big reduction in quantity, but outstanding quality. Now, before we turn to discuss that Puntalice Rosato, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your other flagship wines. To give a good overview of some of the wines you're producing, I'd like to begin with Cirò Bianco. Tell us a little bit about this, because this is from an ancient grape variety that dates back to the Greek heritage.
Yes, we produce a lot of different wines. We start for sure with our DOC Cirò White, that is a Greco 100%. It's called Alei. Alei, like Apollo Aleo, that was the god of the sun, no? Looking the Greeks history. We are lucky because our vineyards produce a low yield per plant. So usually Greco is a neutral grape, no, it's a neutral wine. The flavors are not too much important, but in our case, all the flavors are concentrated, are focused in a small quantity of the grapes, so we can give it really good and important aromas. Then we produce also some blends, because we like to make a blend from not only using Gaiop and Greco, but also using international grapes. Think that another white wine that we produce is our Alichia, and it's a blend of Greco and Traminer. So we taken the Traminer, that is an international grape, usually a mountain grape in the north of Italy. We planted it in our vineyards, looking the sea with our soil, with our sun, no, with our temperature, and created a really particular wine, a mineral Traminer. No, it's a very particular thing.
That's a fascinating blend. Traminer, of course, coming from Alto Adige, from the Sud Tyrol, a very aromatic grape variety, blended in Cirò with Greco. Is that right?
Yes, and it's the objective is to let understand to the customers, to the people, that not all the wines with the same grapes are the same. No? Because if we take a grape and plant it in another territory, we took the terroir, the different terroir. So also the flavors, the tasting is and can be different.
Does it still have that beautiful aroma of a Traminer?
Yes, it's a beautiful aroma. We use it only at 30%. The 70% is Greco, but it's a Traminer that we produce at only 40 hectares, 40 quintals on hectares. So really a low yield per plant, and this allows us to have really good aromas.
Okay.
So the part of the aromas is given from the Traminer, and the Greco gives structure, gives acidity to the wine. So it's a really perfect combination.
Wow, that's a really, really interesting wine. I look forward to trying that. Let's turn to your flagship wine, your Arcano Cirò Riserva. Tell us about your red Cirò, because this is really so typical. When we think of Cirò, I think we think of Galioppo, we think of Cirò reds, and your Arcano Riserva is a flagship wine.
Yes, Gaioppo is a very particular grape because in the rosé wine you find a really delicate Gaioppo, no? A really elegant Gaioppo. In the red wine, Gaioppo is very strong because it's a tannic grape and is a wine that in the past were produced to match with the Calabrian cooking, no? That it's a spicy cooking. So we need to make an equilibration in our mouth of a very strong wine. So it's a very particular, has aromas that are very beautiful, spicy. It's a really beautiful wine that we refine for 2 years in a double refinement into different kind of wood, because stay 6 months in barrique and another 2 years in a big oak barrel. So it's a very complex wine.
Okay, a wine that can be laid down to age, this beautiful Galioppo, not a deeply colored red wine, is it?
The color is a granato.
Yes, a garnet red, yes.
And the flavor are spicy, spicy scent and full flower. Think that this kind of wine and the tip that I always suggest is always try to find an equilibration, no, in your mouth. So this is a wine that is perfect with a great meat, no, with roasts, for example. The only things to be put attention is to not to match with a blood meat, because the blood contain ferro, is steel, right?
Iron, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with the tannins of the grape create a combination, a chemical combination that in Italy is ferrotannosi. I don't know to translate in English. That give a bitter taste.
Okay.
Just this is the only tip to give, to not match with too much blood meat.
Now, just a brief word before we turn to the risotto. A brief word on your super Calabrian Cassiodoro, which also is interesting in the way you're marrying the local grape, the Galioppo, with Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes, Cassiodoro, first of all, is a very important politics from the past. Thinks that Cassiodoro Senatore was a senator in Rome, was a politician and ambassador, and from this man is the man that create. Let me pass this word, the disciplinary of the Amarone, because he's born in Calabria but spent his life in Veneto, and there are the first brought, no, the first rite that where he explained how to produce the ripasso and then the Amarone. So it's a very important people from the wine. I think that in Verona, in Veneto, there is also an association in honor of this Cassiodoro man. So it's a man that was really good if we try to understand better of his history. About the wine, yes, this is a match of Gaioppo and Cabernet Sauvignon. We tried to smooth the corners of Gaioppo with the Cabernet Sauvignon that is more lovable, no? So we tried to create a really super Calabrian wine, taking the important wine of and the important grape like Cabernet Sauvignon. I think that we actually sell the vintage 2015. So these are wines that before to test need to stay about 9 years from still wood refinement in bottle. So are very, very prestigious wine.
Okay, well, that's fascinating and very interesting to hear about Cassiodorus. I didn't realize he was from Calabria.
Yeah.
I've read about him, as you say, his links with making wine from the dried grapes, which he describes. He wrote about Venice. I think he was linked to Theodoric in Ravenna as well. So he's a very important historical figure, but I didn't know he was from Calabria. Let's shine a spotlight now on your award-winning Best Organic Rosé, this Cirò Rosato Puntalice.
Pundalice is, yes, it's a dark rosé wine, but it's not a classic Cirò rosé because usually in Cirò the rosé are more dark. No? We married a French philosophy, no, a Provençal philosophy, producing this wine with a very soft color like petal rosé, and it's a rosé produced by a double harvest because we collect a part of the grape in the middle of August when the grape is not too mature. So we have a good acidity but low sugar, and we collect again a second part of Gaioppo in September when the grapes is mature. The acidity is low and the sugar are high, and so we make like a blend but of the same Gaioppo collected in two different times. In this way, we put alcohol low, about 12.5 of alcohol, and we preserve the flavors of the grapes.
Okay, that's really interesting production. I remember, as I say, I was judging at Five Star, and I remember tasting some beautiful rosés. I may have tasted yours and marked it highly as well, because we all mark and taste blind, of course. And then the wines for the highest awards, such as yours, get retasted a number of times by other panels. So it's a real achievement. But it's a good time to turn, I think, now to the gastronomy of Cirò, the gastronomy of Calabria, because it's a really delicious regional cuisine, a cuisine with real character and fire and spice and flavors that pair well with your wines. Can you tell us some of the really typical dishes that when you've been traveling and you come home, what do you want to eat and what are the wines that pair best with them?
First of all, our cooking is a fatty and spicy cuisine. First of all, no? We use peperoncino, nduja, that are some typical food of Calabria, very very famous in the last years. But we have also beautiful podolic meat when we can match our red wines and some typical food. I don't know if you never test peppers and potatoes that are really good. So the objective in the past was to try to produce wine that can be matched, no, with this cuisine. Especially Gaioppo and the tannins of Gaioppo need to clean your move from this fatty and spicy cuisine. No? So was it
So the
really interesting.
pepperoncino is very much a feature of Calabrian cuisine. I think there's a Festa di Peperoncino in Diamante every year.
Yeah. Yes. Peperoncino for us is like the salt in the pasta, so it's always and
Okay.
every times.
And what is this dish, this peppers and potatoes? Come si chiama?
Peperoni e
Okay.
patate.
So is that pepperoncini cooked with patate or pepperone?
The pepperone is not
Okay. Not the spicy one.
yes, exactly. Not the spicy one. Is
Yeah.
the big
Okay.
pepper.
And that's very typical. And would that be a good food to have with the rosato?
Yes, especially this rosati is versatile, no? So we can test like a appetizer, fish course, no? It's a really a good choice, no? When you eat. There are, in truth, other typical food, but are really hard to match with the one because, for example, in this area we produce the sardella. Sardella, how to explain? Sardella is the newborn of the fish that are called
Okay.
sardines, okay? But the little sardines, not the big
Tiny, tiny,
sardines,
tiny little.
okay? With pepper and
Okay, the
fennel,
fennel. Yeah.
okay? It's like a juice. no, that you eat with the bread, but it's really
Okay.
spicy.
Okay.
And the spicy food, are not are well suggested
Sure.
with wine. Uh, yes, is spicy like nduja, but nduja came from the meat of maiale, no, of pork, no.
But
And,
the
so
sardelle is
it's,
this paste that you can then spread on bread, a fishy, spicy paste. Yes, I
exactly.
think that would be very good with a glass of your chilled Cirò Bianco.
Yes, probably yes. Then these kind of food are different in each city. No, for example, the city near closer, Cirò, produce the sardella in a different way. No, because some city use the sardines a little bit bigger, some less big, with some pepper in more or less. So there are a lot of different kind of sardella that are produced in Calabria.
What would
Yes, but
be a typical pasta dish for your area?
pasta we use, for example, the eggplant, no? But there are not, in truth, really typical pasta. For example, the typical pasta that we use in Calabria is pasta al forno, baked pasta, okay, with polpette are meatballs, provola, salsiccia. I don't know in English how to explain. Provola is like a cheese that are spacked on in the pasta, and salsiccia is another meat, but is cooked meat.
The sausages, yeah.
Sausages, yes, but the sausages there are different kinds. Sausages, there are some sausages that can be cooked in fresh, no, and some sausages that are like salumi.
Okay. And this is a salumi.
Yes, this is salumi that are cooked inside the pasta. It's a really particular.
Oh, that sounds good.
Hard to explain, but good to.
Yeah, no. You explained it very well. This pasta al forno, very typical. Now that would be a food to enjoy with the Cirò rosso.
The rosso matched very well with meat. No, for example, we have in Calabria the podolica. It's a typical kind of a Calabrian meat that.
A breed of cow, isn't it?
Yes.
A breed of cattle.
Yes, exactly. It's married very well. But with all the red wines that we produce, there is one red wine that is very particular because we not to suggest with typical food. That is our Unico Senator. Unico Senator is our top gamma wine. Is a Merlot 100%, but we explain it like a meditation wine because make is an over-ripened on the plant. So has a little sugar residual, about 15-20 grams on liter, that make it very particular, like meditation wine. So to drink with your partner, with your friends after the meat, with a little bit of dark chocolate, for example, no. So it's a very particular wine. And if you want, I can also tell you an history about this wine.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because the first time that we produced this wine was in 2008. We are artisan producer. We are producer at 100%, so we don't use machine to collect the grapes. Always manual. So we are really strictly in this for these things. And in that year, some red grapes, the maturation was crossed. So we not had the time to collect in the right moment all the international red grapes. So we collect late a piece of Merlot that in the meanwhile was a little bit more overripened, more sweet. So we could not produce the classic wine using the Merlot. So just to recover the cost of the production of that year of that grape, we think that okay, now try to produce this wine from this grape, and then try to collect only the cost. We sell at half of the price. I don't know. No, we think just to not lose, the production cost of that pace of Merlot. But we understood that we produced a really good wine, and we think that now how we can to produce again this wine without risking a late harvest, because late harvest is in October. Maybe this is not the year, the perfect year, but usually in October there are the rain, there are the animals that eat the grapes, so it's very dangerous, no? Doing a late harvest in October. So we found a solution in a very particular, typical strategy that is called, maybe in English, suffocation of the grape. So our staff pass through the vineyards, turn the grapes one by one. There is a little suffocation of the rasp. It's not a suffocation. It's maybe damaging a little bit the rasp. Okay. In this way, we don't cut and let overripe the grape like Amarone, but we induciamo, no? We let start an over maturation of the grapes directly on the plant, but in September, in a controlled way.
So they become passito on the plant.
Yes, but it's not a passito.
Okay.
It's just an over-ripened wine, because it's not a really sweet wine. Okay, our wine you can drink 2 glass, 3 glass, 1 bottle, and it's never stuck. Okay, so it's a very well drinked wine. So we stay on about 15-20 grams on liter. In fact, this kind of wine is not collocated like sweet wine. It's a classic wine, like Nerello, like Cassidor that we explained before, no? But inside is really completely different.
Okay, this touch of residual sweetness that comes naturally from the overripe grapes of Vino da Meditazione. That's fascinating. That's really, really interesting. And you've really given us such a good overview of where you are in growing grapes. I know our listeners will be interested in visiting Vito. What opportunities do you have for wine hospitality, for visitors to Senatore Vini?
Yes, we have a beautiful estate. We think that we organize also wedding in our building. So just to let you understand that it's really pretty, to see. During the summer, we are opened for free wine tour. We are one of the few winery that promote the free wine tour every weeks from June to September. There is a day that is the Thursday, and every weeks we organize these free wine tours. But we can host people for private tasting all the day, all the week. Things that we are honored to host also the cruisers that came from Crotone Port, that is near from Cirò. So all the cruise like the Vikings, like the Seabourn, like the Aida, that are different cruise from North America and Germania, came to us to touch with their hand our reality. So we are really, really well organized to host people and to let's discover our estate.
Okay, that's great to know. It seems a long way down to Cirò Marina, in the deep south, the inset of the Italian boot. But it's a beautiful place to visit, and I urge our listeners to make the effort to visit Calabria. It's such a genuine region, and the wines and the foods and the hospitality are really genuine too. Vito, thank you so much for being my guest today, for sharing your story, the story of Senatore Vini, and describing this beautiful award-winning wine. It's been a real pleasure meeting you, and I hope this year's harvest has gone well, and I look forward to meeting you sometime in the future. So, mille grazie.
Grazie a te. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It's a really, really pleasure for me to explain our history, and I hope to host you and our customers in our company, because it's a really beautiful experience. So we wait for you, and we are at your disposal.
Thank you very much. Buona giornata. Grazie.
Grazie. Ciao a tutti.
We hope
Ciao.
today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.